Howdy y'all, this is Diwari with Uniquely Average Gamers, and we're going to continue on talking about Destiny. This is going to be all footage captured from the beta test for the PlayStation 4. The topic of this video is going to be the Bladedancer, which is the subclass that hunters get access to at level 15. You can switch between Bladedancer and Gunslinger, which we cover in a different video, on the fly, so as you find yourself needing to be a little bit more stealthy, you can swap over to Bladedancer. For this video, we don't actually have any footage of Bladedancer because, like we mentioned, you get it unlocked at level 15. The max level in the beta was level 8, so we could only go so far. So, what we did get access to was actually seeing the skill tree of the Bladedancer in the actual character menu screen. So what we're going to do is we're going to break down that skill set. You can tell within it that there is a lot of synergy between different moves, and you can tell that the archetype of this character is going to be based on a rogue or a thief from traditional MMOs. You're going to be very, very quick, very, very agile. You do get a short teleport called Blink, which we've seen in other videos. And you also get very, very potent melee damage, including a backstab. So it really fits the mold of the backstabby thief RPG class that we're used to. Now, one thing you're going to notice about the skill tree when we open it up here is that the background is going to have a little electric ball rather than the little fireball that it had for the Gunslinger. The reason for that is because you're going to be doing predominantly arc damage, which is electric damage. It's very potent against shielded enemies. So in addition to that, you get a laundry list of very, very deadly skills. Starting with the grenades, we have the Flux Grenade. The Flux Grenade is going to be a sticky grenade that's going to explode, and it deals more damage to stuck enemies. This has both practicality in PvP as well as in boss fights where the boss is very large. Next, you have the Skip Grenade. This is going to break into multiple fragments and track enemies. This is going to be practical both for boss fights once again and PvP. We don't know if we get to set it up as a trap like the Gunslingers do with theirs. Now the final one we get is the Arc Bolt Grenade, which chains bolts of lightning between enemies. So it sounds practical for taking down waves of enemies, but until we get to see it in practice, we can't really make a comment on its true efficiency. After that, we get into the double jump ability. Now, we saw double jump also on the Gunslinger. There is minor upgrade differences between the two, but in its essence, double jump is still incredibly useful both for its maneuverability and its speed. You can get out of dangerous situations very quickly if you find things getting a little bit hairy, and as you upgrade it, you get more capabilities, starting with higher jump, exactly as it sounds. Next, you can opt for better control while double jumping. Note that better control is also going to marginally increase your recovery stat on the bar above. The final choice you get for double jump is Blink, which is essentially a short distance teleport that replaces your double jump. We've seen that on the Voidwalker tree. Now, until we see a Bladedancer use it, we can't really comment on its speed nor its distance. But it also raises the question, what type of damage are you taking while in the animation for Blink? Because if you can use it to mitigate it, it's going to be good for closing the distance, so you can use Arc Blade. Arc Blade is the supercharge ability for the Bladedancer. Now, we've only seen glimpses of Arc Blade in a couple different trailers that Bungie has launched for Destiny, but based on the description of skills that enhance it, we believe that Arc Blade is going to be very similar to Golden Gun in the sense that it's a controllable state. Now, Showstopper is the first move that indicated that. It says that if you use the fire button while in Arc Blade, it's going to cause AoE damage to enemies nearby you. The same is also true of Razor's Edge, which is another choice you get, which says that if you press fire, you're going to be causing energy to project from you on the ground. We can't comment on their damage until we see them in practice, but like we mentioned, it just reiterates that Arc Blade is a controllable state. Now finally you get Vanish. Vanish is going to cause your hunter to go invisible while in Arc Blade. This means that you can have significant lethality in PvP or against a boss or a heavy enemy. We don't know yet what causes Vanish to break, so we don't know what can reveal you, but it can be useful to close the distance for Blink Strike. Now, Blink Strike is the unique melee for the Bladedancers. It's described as a powerful melee with extended range. We don't yet know how it achieves this extended range, whether it's just a larger hitbox or if Blink Strike infers that there's a small teleport involved. We don't know yet. The first upgrade you get for it is Backstab, and it essentially just causes Blink Strike to deal additional damage if you attack an enemy from behind with it. Now, we've seen this in traditional MMOs, and the damage is always a considerable multiplier. We just don't know what type of damage multiplier we're looking at until we can see it. Next up, you have Escape Artist. This is going to cause Blink Strike to give your hunter temporary invisibility. It says brief invisibility. We don't know how long it's going to last, nor do we know, as we mentioned before, what causes stealth to break, so we have to see it. Now, the final item is Fast Twitch, and Fast Twitch is going to decrease the cooldown time of Blink Strike. Now, Strength already does this, so if you're stacking Strength, that could mean that Fast Twitch could be a redundancy, but as we always say, we don't know until we can see it in practice. After that, you get into the Passives line of skills. This is the Paths. starting with Path of the Forgotten, which is going to increase your armor and agility. Next, you have recovery and agility, and finally, you have armory and recovery. As we state in every video, just pick whichever one complements your playstyle the best. Agility is going to be very useful for a Blade Dancer because you can get around, but it's not going to be the be-all, end-all. You need to be balanced, or at least we prefer to be. After that, you get Fleet-Footed. Fleet-Footed is going to be an ability that's going to increase your sprint speed and your slide distance. It's also going to marginally increase your agility on the bar above. This is very, very good because it's the only skill we've seen so far that increases your character's overall sprint speed. So as it stands right now, it looks like the Blade Dancer is going to be the fastest class. After that, you get Quick Draw, which says weapons are going to ready immediately after dealing damage with a knife attack. When they say ready immediately, it sounds like they're going to reload while not being equipped, which could be good, but we don't know until we see it. Shadowjack is the final ability that you get, and this just increases the duration of the invisibility effects. Again, no numbers are listed here, so we don't know what time frame we're looking at, but it can have significant potential. We get into another line of passes after that. These are your ways skill set. These are, like we mentioned before, going to further increase your armor, recovery, or your agility, depending on which one you choose. But not to sound redundant, just pick whichever one is best for you. At the very end, we get 3 of the more interesting abilities that the Blade Dancer gets to see. The Encore is the first one. Encore is going to make it so that Arcblade is going to have its duration extended when you get kills with Arcblade. Now, we've seen something similar to this on the Gunslinger's Golden Gun ability. It extended the duration of Golden Gun, but you still only got 3 shots. If no such limitation exists for Encore, if you can melee as much as you want, then that could be incredibly devastating. Next, you have Stalker. Stalker is going to make it so you turn invisible after crouching for a short period of time. That could be incredibly good for sniper rifles or just generally getting the jump on somebody. Now, finally, you get Hungering Blade. Hungering Blade is going to refill your health as you get kills with either Arc Blade or Blink Strike. Now, we don't know how much the health regen effect is going to amount to. It could be a lot, it could be a little. We also don't know if there's any way to enhance its effect. For instance, does the recovery stat have anything to do with the rate at which that recharges? Or does the amount of damage that you do with the ability enhance the amount that you regen yourself? We've seen that in a lot of games. Until we have the answers to those questions, this is really all just speculation. So really, they could change anything from now to the end game. This is just the beta. But it still does give us a good idea that the Blade Dancer is just incredibly fast, and they're not going to have many damage over time effects as it stands with this tree. They're going to be very, very reliant on direct damage. Now, as far as stats are concerned, you're going to have the same stats as other classes. First, there's Discipline, which is going to decrease your grenade cooldown. Then there's Intellect, which is going to decrease the cooldown of your Supercharge ability, Arc Blade. And then after that, you have Strength, which is going to decrease the cooldown of your melee ability, in this case, Blink Strike. Now, there's also Light, and as we've stated in other videos, Light is going to increase your max level above the quote-unquote default max level of level 20, so you'll be able to push up higher past that the more you stack Light. Until we can see the Blade Dancer in action, we can't effectively speculate on which stat is the best to stack at this time. Now, bear in mind that some cooldowns are already reduced if you spec into the respective skills. As far as weapons are concerned, we'll just say what we always say. Pick which works best for you, your playstyle, and your context. We always keep one of every weapon handy in case we need to switch over on the fly for a given situation. Now for PvP, our speculation can only go so far, but the Blade Dancer skill tree gave us a picture of a lot of advantages they're going to have. You can choose to be faster than other players, the double jump is still wildly maneuverable, and the ability to stealth has massive potential. You can infiltrate close quarters, you can capture nodes, you can close the gap if you're using a shotgun, or you can remain hidden while sniping. It also should be noted that you can sneak up and burst down pesky players who are buffing their teammates. Arcblade doesn't seem to have much anti-vehicle capabilities in PvP, if it is a melee, but that's just a small setback given the other advantages that the Blade Dancer has. So in conclusion, we are remarkably excited to see the Blade Dancer in action because it's going to answer 3 of our biggest questions. How fast are they going to turn out to be? How effective will their stealth be? And how much damage output are we talking about here? Once we have the answer to those 3 questions, we can have a better idea of how we want to build our Blade Dancer, because as it stands right now, we don't know for certain, but they look to have capabilities in both PvP and PvE scenarios that can be incredibly advantageous to you and your team. But, like we mentioned, it's still a beta, so everything is still subject to change. So that's really as far as we can go with the Blade Dancer until we can see it in action. So I do certainly hope that this video was helpful. As always, if there are any questions, comments, feedback, feel free to leave us a comment. We always appreciate likes and subscribes. Again, this has been Diwari with Uniquely Average Gamers. Check us out on Twitter at UA Gamers. We're going to be posting more Destiny videos covering all the subclasses. And as always, We'll be seeing you on the Inside of Destiny when it comes out.